Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're doing something pretty ambitious. We're building what you could call a unified curriculum from the wisdom of 4 incredible spiritual masters. We're going to see how a yogi, a mystic, a philosopher, and a scientist are all, in their own unique ways, pointing to the exact same fundamental truth about reality. Let's dive in.
So let's just start with the core question that this whole explainer is really built around. Is it possible that these 4 giants of spiritual thought are all teaching the same thing, just, using different words, different languages, and different metaphors?
Okay, to really get what they're doing, we first need to understand this concept of guru transmission. This isn't like learning physics from a textbook. It's more like a direct invitation to see. The idea is that the words themselves carry the vibration of the realization they're pointing to. It's less about theory and more about recognition.
All right, so here's our roadmap. We'll start by looking at the problem of the mind, then we'll check out some bigger maps of reality, then we'll pull it all together into a unified curriculum, and finally, we'll boil it all down into a practical toolkit you can actually use.
So let's meet our professors for today's deep dive. We've got Sadhguru, the yogi, who sees this as a technological problem of getting beyond the mind. We have Eckhart Tolle, the mystic, who's all about presence. Then there's Swami Sarvapriyananda, bringing this incredible philosophical precision from Vedanta. And finally, Michael Bradford, who gives us a nuts and bolts physiological map of how this transformation actually works in the body.
So first stop, we're exploring the internal landscape. Both Sadhguru and Eckhart Tolle give us some really powerful tools for dealing with what is, for most of us, the #1 obstacle: the non-stop chatter of our own minds. Sadhguru's core insight here is, wow, it's so simple, but it's totally radical. He says our entire sense of self, our whole world, is basically a memory prison. Think about it. Even your wildest imagination is just you remixing stuff you already know. He's saying we're trapped, constantly looking at reflections of the past, and we almost never see reality as it actually is.
And Eckhart Tolle really builds on this. He points out this classic meditation trap that so many of us fall into. We schedule meditation, we treat it like another task on our to-do list. It becomes another form of doing something. But Tolle says, no, the whole point is to stop doing completely and just realize the being that's already here, underneath it all.
So here's the crucial point they both make, this big paradox. You can't use the mind, the part of you that's all about doing and achieving, to get beyond the mind. The very act of seeking for peace tomorrow or enlightenment next year keeps you stuck in the mind's timeline. It actually prevents you from finding the peace that is only ever available right now.
Okay, so we've looked at the inner world. Now let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture frameworks of reality. And we're going to look at 2 really different maps, one from ancient philosophy and one from a much more modern physiological point of view.
Swami Sarvapriyananda gives us this really elegant map from Vedanta. He explains that ultimate reality, what they call Brahman, has 2 faces. There's the impersonal, pure consciousness itself, and then there's the personal God, the one who creates and who you can pray to. But here's the key. They are not 2 different things. They're just the same one reality, seen from different angles.
And then, in total contrast, Michael Bradford gives us this very tangible physiological map. He argues that spiritual awakening, or Kundalini, is a real biological process. And get this, it's initiated by the brain, not the base of the spine like you usually hear. A specific evolving center in the brain switches on, and it basically calls for more energy from the rest of the body. This light bulb analogy just makes it so clear. Imagine your brain's circuitry is designed for a 100-watt bulb. When this evolving center kicks in, it's like you've suddenly screwed in a 200-watt bulb. The system needs more juice, so the brain signals the body's main power reserve, the vital life force, or prana, stored in the reproductive system, and says, hey, send that fuel up here.
All right, this is where it all starts to click together. We've looked at the inner world of the mind and these outer maps of reality. Now, we're going to see how these 4 very different-looking paths all lead to the exact same destination. But before we look at the main chart, just check out the common ground here. I mean, all 4 teachers, in their own language, are saying the same things. 1, you are not who you think you are. 2, the search itself can be the very thing that stops you from finding what you're looking for. 3, all roads lead home. And 4, this isn't just some nice philosophy. It's a real, actual transformation.
Okay, so here it is, the unified curriculum. Just look at this. It doesn't matter if your entry point is identifying the mind's matrix or mapping the body's energy. It doesn't matter if your method is transcendence or just being still. Look at the last column. The destination is identical. They are all pointing to the very same fundamental recognition.
And this slide really gets to the heart of it. What Sadhguru calls the other side of the mirror, what Tolle calls the realization of being, what the Swami calls Nirguna Brahman, and what Bradford's model points to as the evolving center, they're all just different names. Yogic, mystical, philosophical, physiological, just different languages pointing to the exact same territory, consciousness itself.
So you might be thinking, this is all fascinating theory, but what do I do with it? How does this apply to my life? Well, let's distill all these big ideas into a clear, actionable toolkit that you can start using right away.
Okay, from Sadhguru, we get the practice of matrix recognition. First, start doing a memory audit. Just notice how often your thoughts and emotions are just old recordings playing on a loop. Second, practice mirror awareness. Remind yourself you're looking at reflections, not reality. And third, use your own expiry date, your mortality, to create a sense of urgency and cut through all the trivial stuff.
From Tolle, the toolkit is all about shifting from doing to being. So first, audit your schedule. Is meditation just another chore for you? The goal is to let the technique itself fall away. And then, collapse time. Just ask yourself this simple question over and over. Am I mentally trying to get somewhere else, or am I actually here right now? Swami Sarvapriyananda gives us the practice of path confidence. His advice is so practical. Just choose one sincere spiritual path and stick with it. But, and this is so important, avoid fanaticism. Understand that your path can be totally valid without making every other path invalid. And remember his simple logic. If you believe you are real, then the source of that reality must also be real.
And finally, from Michael Bradford's synthesis, we get a direct, physiological instruction. When you meditate or turn your attention inward, focus it at the crown of your head, not the base of your spine. This allows the brain to call the energy up. Understand that your vital energy is the fuel for this process. And then, just be patient. Let this natural, biological process unfold on its own schedule.
There's this absolutely beautiful quote from Ramakrishna that just perfectly explains why there can be so many valid paths. He says, ultimate reality is like a mountain of sugar. For a tiny little ant, a single grain is more than enough to be completely filled. You don't need to eat the whole mountain. You just need to find your one grain and commit to it. So really, the big takeaway here is that there are many valid ways to get to the truth. The guru path might transmit it through presence and energy. The academic path might get there through logic and mathematical proof. Both can lead to the very same recognition. It seems that consciousness itself really doesn't care which door you use to walk through.
And so, we'll end by turning the question back to you. After all of this, if you are not your memories, if you are not the one who is seeking, and if you are not even the path that you're on, then who or what is the one that's aware of all of it? Who is it that sees?